Now the rules seem
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.
And I listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Indeed you are, people. Indeed you are. That was a bit of a weird start. I was on there with Kimar at the same time. Welcome to another episode of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm your co-host, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. By now, most of you know what that means, what this is, what we do, etc. But you could be somebody new. This could be your first ever log into anything to do with the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And if that is the case and you are one of those people, then let me deal with the admin straight and foremost. You can follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast at Carib Cricket on Twitter and Instagram. Please do like, share, and subscribe to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We're currently on the road to 5K YouTube subscribers. Our growth is exponential. To be fair, thank you to anybody who's been kind of clicking that subscribe button over the last 6 months to a year or so. We're slowly but surely on our way to world domination. But on a serious note, we like to paint ourselves as the kind of go-to media when it comes to West Indies cricket. And when we say West Indies cricket, we're not talking about the men's senior side alone. We're talking about the women's side. We're talking about the under-19s. We're talking about the academy. We're talking about the girls. We're talking about the boys. We're talking about grassroots cricket, etc., etc. So when we say West Indies, this isn't a show where you come and just learn and hear about West Indies cricket and listen to our episodes and interviews with all the stakeholders. We cover everything and anything to do with West Indies cricket. If you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can do so at www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket for as little as £2, 2 yen, 2 rupee, 2 Jamaican dollars, whatever your currency is, wherever you are in the world. If you'd like to support us, you can do so for as little as $2, £2, 2 whatever you have to keep us going, because we do not have a sponsor. You'll never, or you haven't. I don't want to say you'll never, but you don't come on here and hear this show is brought to you by. We've never had a sponsor. The only way we keep going is through the kind donations from any of the supporters and followers of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. If you'd like to sponsor us, though, get at me in the DMs. I've told you where the ats are. Today I'm sporting the brim hat, the sun hat, the limited edition West Indies sun hat. So few people have this. Every time I wear this one, people are like, where did you get that? Can't even remember where I got it, people, but it's limited edition. You know, if you've got one of these, if you know, you know. But anyways, this particular episode, people, is a quick one. Haven't done one of these in a while. The last kind of few things we've put up on the YouTube site or on our different audio podcast handles have kind of been long form interviews. So, for example, if you listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Amazon, whatever your audio podcast platform is of your choosing, you'll know that the last kind of 2 or 3 episodes we've put up, it's been interviews with Johnny Grave, CEO of Cricket West Indies, interviews with Justice Patrick Thompson, who commissioned or who kind of chaired and led the kind of massive introspection and investigation into what went wrong at the 2022 T20 World Cup, which has led to some short-term, medium-term and long-term recommendations for West Indies men's cricket going forward. So we did a long-form interview with him, which is on our audio platforms. If you're just somebody who likes the YouTube stuff, the visual stuff, you'll know that in the last week we've dropped a long form interview with the interim head coach Andre Coley, and you'll also know that over the last few days I've done quite a few live call-in shows. But I wanted to kind of return to what is the bread and butter, and the bread and butter for me is these kind of like 20 to 25 minute drop-in shows where I just talk on a particular issue in West Indies cricket. Get in the comments below, let me know what you think about it. At us at Carib Cricket if you've got a particular point you want to share about it. But you should know by now, if you comment in the if you get in the comments below, particularly on YouTube, I'll always reply. At the very least, I'll acknowledge that you wrote something, even if it's only like a thumbs up or a like. But most comments I try and reply to with my particular views on it. So, anyways, this particular video, sorry, just getting a drink. This particular video is just covering round 2 of the domestic championship. Yes, of course, West Indies are currently playing Zimbabwe. Yes, they're on top. Bowled Zimbabwe out for 115. They're 133 for 4. The test match looks like it'll be over on day 3 at this rate. I'll do a different video about that, more than likely a live video at some point in the next 24 to 48 hours. But I want to step away from that because that's not the only cricket that's going on. We've literally just completed round 2 of the domestic championship in the Caribbean. If I just quickly remind people what happened in round 2, Guyana and Windward Islands battled to a thrilling draw. Guyana, it looked like Guyana were going to lose, but Kevin Sinclair and who was the final batter? Was it Ronsford? Yeah, Kevin Sinclair and Ronsford Beaton essentially batted out what must have been the last 45 minutes to secure a draw for Guyana. Windward Islands needed 1 wicket to win, couldn't get over the line. I'll get this out there now. I think the issue for Windward Islands in that match is simply that when you're so unused to winning, it can be hard to win, even if you're favourites to win. Windward Islands had done all the hard work. They'd knocked over 6, 7, 8, 9, only had 1 wicket to go. And I still maintain their bowling was poor when they only had to get 1 wicket. But you have to give props to Kevin Sinclair all the same. So anyways, Windward Islands and Guyana battled to a draw. Guyana were chasing 294 to win, by the way, and reached 250 for 9. Trinidad and Leeward Islands also battled to a draw. That game was heavily affected by rain. Essentially, it felt like 2 full days of the match were basically rained out when you add up all the overs that were lost. So that match was not really it was very unlikely that match was ever going to have a result, no matter what Trinidad did. They were the ones in the driving seat, but it was very unlikely that they could force a result once you'd had so many overs rained out. Not too dissimilar to West Indies trying to force a result against Zimbabwe. When you lose so many overs to rain, you're really up against it. And then finally, Barbados beat Jamaica inside 3 days. They beat them by 6 wickets in a low-scoring affair. Barbados only needed 77 to chase in their final innings and lost 4 wickets in the process. The table is yet to be updated, so I can't really tell you what that at the time of recording. I can't say this is what it does for the table. What I do know is that Guyana will still be top, Jamaica will be bottom, and that's about all I know. I couldn't really tell you how the table is affected other than that, simply because I still don't really know, because Cricket West Indies haven't made it clear how are the points actually, how have they decided points in this tournament. I know there's batting points available, I know there's bowling points available, but there's no actual clear information that I can find to explain this is how the batting points go, this is how the bowling points go, etc. So I can't tell you how the table is constructed right now. I just know that Guyana are top and Jamaica are bottom. But if you follow us on our Twitter handles, Instagram handles, we'll endeavour to update the table at that when we've got the necessary details from Cricket West Indies. But what I want to do, similar to what I did after round 1, is I want to look at the kind of standout performers in the championship thus far and what that may or may not mean for West Indies cricket going forward. First things first, though, I want to talk about people who aren't in my top 5. So when I say standout performers, what I mean is who's in the race for what I'm calling the figuratively speaking, yellow jersey, right? For both batters and bowlers, for those who get the Tour de France reference. So I've picked the top 5 bowlers currently in terms by number of wickets, top 5 batters by number of runs. But first, what I'm going to do is just talk about some individual performances within this second round that are worth noting, but I'm not going to talk further on it because those players aren't currently in the top 5. So if we go to the Windward Islands versus Guyana game, in terms of with the bat, just worth noting, in fact, no, he's in my top 5, so I won't talk about that just yet. Ryan John, who also was handy with the bat in the first game for Windward Islands. So Ryan John bats at number 8 for Windward Islands. He got a half century, so just carrying on what I think is very good form with the bat in the tournament. In the first innings when Guyana bowled, other than obviously Versamy Permol, who was the standout. It's worth noting that Ronsford Beaton, who's back in the Guyana side, took 2 for 50. Kevin Sinclair, 2 for 66. Reminder to people that Kevin Sinclair got a call up to the West Indies limited overs sides at the back end of 2022. So it's just interesting to me to see what he can do in red ball cricket as well. In Guyana's first innings, nothing really to write home about. They were woeful with the bats and no one really for me to talk about. But worth just pointing out that the Windward Islands with the ball, Justin Graves, 5 for 24. There's a big question mark that I've got. When Justin Graves, for those who remember, Justin Graves played for the West Indies ODI side 2021 at home against Ireland, and he opened the innings. I would like somebody, I still all now have no idea how that came to pass. Justin Graves, for me, has always been more of a bowling all-rounder than a batter, than an out-and-out batter. I have no idea how he managed to debut for the West Indies, opening the innings in ODI cricket, but I've always seen him as somebody who's effective, medium pace, bit of swing, bit of lateral movement, etc. So he took 5 for 24 for the Windward Islands in that first innings. When Windward Islands came to bat in the second innings, again, they crumbled just like Guyana had crumbled in their first innings. Again, Ronsford Beaton 3 for 35, making that 5 wickets across the match. For Ronsford. If Ronsford can make sure that his action stays clear, it'll be interesting to see how he develops over the next few years. And then Shamar Joseph, the seamer, who got a call up to the Red Ball squad this year, 5 for 41. So a 5 for him, and that's worth highlighting as well. Like I say, Guyana needed to chase 294 to win. Matthew Nandu clocked up a half century to go with his big century in the first round. So he clocked up 60 off 123 balls. And of course, Kevin Sinclair essentially guiding Guyana to the draw with 77 off 138 balls, batting at number 8 in the side. So again, it's a knock worth talking about for Kevin Sinclair. With the ball for Windward Islands, Preston McSween, 3 for 58 off 21 overs. We know about Preston McSween. I don't know how close he is to ever getting a West Indies call-up, but we certainly know about him. He's certainly featured in some West Indies A-sides. Does that mean he should get a look in again going forward? I don't know, but it's worth highlighting. Justin Graves, 2 for 35 to make it 7 wickets in the match. And Kavem Hodge, we know what he can do with his left arm off-spin. Very wily operator, 2 for 36. So that's just some of the standout performers who aren't in the top 5 batters or bowlers currently. Moving across to Trinidad versus the Leeward Islands, like I say, heavily rain-interrupted match. We know what Bravo did. I'll get to that later on. Yannick Correa in Trinidad's first innings, 52 off 128 balls, batting at number 5. Imran Khan, 92 off 139 balls. Terence Hines, 51 off 51 balls. I think that speaks more to Leeward Islands bowling than it does to Imran Khan's ability to hit a 92 from number 9. I never like the look of things like that. I mean, all power to Imran Khan, but come on. Should Imran Khan at the age of 38 be hitting 92 at number 9 off 139 balls? I've got to look at the Leeward Islands bowling about that. Leeward's with the ball in that first innings. Jeremiah Louis, 3 for 78. He, for me, is probably just behind Marquino Mindley in terms of when we talk about the next fast bowlers off the rank, it goes Anderson Phillip 1, Marquino Mindley 2, and it's probably Jeremiah Louis 3. So 3 for 78 for him in that first innings. Colin Archibald, 3 for 111 from 29 overs. That was really all she wrote. Rakeem Cornwall went wicketless across the whole match, but it was very economical. None for 53 off 27 overs, economy of 1.96. Nobody else was able to do that across the match. When Leewards came to bat, again, I'll talk about Rakeem later. He's not in the top 5 batters in the tournament. He's actually 6th highest run scorer at the moment. But for those who remember the video I did after the first round, and I've been saying it again and again on our Twitter handle, Rakeem Cornwall will only force the selectors to look at him again if he scores runs that make him hard to ignore. He's added another 50 to his tally thus far. I think he got 80 odd last week in the first round, 67 off 95 balls, another 50. The young gun, Casey Carty, one I'm earmarking for the future to play Test cricket for West Indies, 95 at number 3 off 205 balls. Excellent knock from him. Unfortunate not to get a century. Trinidad with the ball. We'll speak about Brian Charles later, but Kari Pierre, 3 for 63 of 30 overs. He's been tidy this year. Yannick Correa, 7 overs, 2 for 24. Trinidad, when they came to bat in the second innings, other than Bravo, nothing to really talk about. In terms of with the ball, Kofi James, his off spin, 3 for 39 from 10 overs. Expensive, but he got the 3 wickets. And then again, Leeward Islands, I mean, they only batted 23 overs and then the match was done. So there's nothing really to say about that. And then finally, just going through to the third match, Jamaica-Barbados, like I say, low-scoring game. Jamaica batted first, made 140. Nothing to say about the batting. Those of you who watched the video that I did with Jerome Foster, cricket, if you want to know anything to do with cricket in Jamaica, you speak to Jerome Foster. Jerome had said in that video that we recorded prior to the tournament starting that he feared for Jamaica's batting. Everything he spoke about was shown in this particular match. 140 in their first innings. No one did anything of note. In terms of Barbados, Shamar Springer, 3 for 11 from 10 overs. Kamari Boyce, left-arm spinner, 3 for 26 from 9 overs. I'll get to Akeem Jordan later. When Barbados came to bat, I mean, they made 215. But in the context of the match, it was a 75-run lead. And basically, that was the match sewn up from there because Jamaica didn't look like they knew how to bat. In that Barbados 215, Shane Dowrich batting at number 6, this time fit, because obviously in the first match last week, he didn't bat all of that match, pretty much hardly, well, basically just didn't bat, you could say. 64 not out of 114 balls. Shane Mosley, 82 from 149 balls. Reminder to people that Shane Mosley toured Bangladesh in 2020, hasn't featured for West Indies since. I don't know where he is in the opener's stake. Obviously, Brathwaite and Chanderpaul are now locked in for the foreseeable future. But Shane Mosley, if he puts up runs like 82 on a regular basis, he puts himself in the driving seat to be the next person called up should one of Brathwaite or Chanderpaul get an injury, for example. So it's worth noting that. With the ball, Patrick Harty, Jamaica, 4 for 23 from 12.5 overs was the standout. Worth mentioning Mansing again with the leg spin, 2 for 30 from his 10 overs. Marquino Mindley, 2 for 25 from his 12 overs. Jamaica came to bat the second time and were just as dreadful as they were the first time round. This time they made 151. Only one person got a 50 across the whole match for Jamaica, and that was Kirk McKenzie, the young man out of the academy who Jamaica have called up, batting at number 3, 56 off 78 balls. So that's a good knock in the context of showing that he may be benefiting from being with the academy and then obviously come into his home franchise now to try and show his worth. So 56 or 78, good knock from Kirk. Again, with the ball, we'll speak about Akeem later, but Jair McAllister, spoke about him last week after the first round. I said that I liked his pace, that he was bowling his hostile pace. He took 3 for 35 from 11 overs, and Shamar Springer picked up another 2 wickets to make it 5 wickets in the match, 2 for 38 off 11 overs. And then Barbados needed 77 to win, and they chased that down inside 29 overs for the loss of 4 wickets. Patrick Harty again picking up another 3 wickets to go with the 4 in the first innings to make it 7 wickets in the match, 3 for 26 from 9 overs. And Mansing, he picked up 1 wicket, 1 for 20 from his 7 overs to make it 3 wickets in the match. And that just goes with Mansing's good start to the tournament thus far. He didn't show up with the bat this time round, but certainly did with the ball. So that's the matches in a nutshell. I mean, I've tried to just kind of sum up the matches and some of the standout performers in like just shy of 10 minutes, just to let you know there were some other standout performers. But just like I did last week, what I really wanted to do was look at the top 5. So we're going to start with the batters first. As things currently stand, these are the top 5 batters after 2 rounds of the West Indies Domestic Championship. Hopefully you can see him on the screen for yourself, but if you're listening to this on audio for whatever reason and not looking at the screen, Darren Bravo now leads the run scoring charts, 260 runs after 4 innings at bat. Alec Athenay second, 244 runs. Kimani Melius drops from 1 to 3, 204 runs. Matthew Nandu drops from 2nd to 4th, 204 runs. And Sunil Ambris is a new inclusion into the top 5 with 183 runs. For those who don't know, The top 5 after round 1 was Melius first, Nandu second, Tion Webster third, Abhijay Mansingh fourth, Rakeem Cornwall fifth. So there's been quite a bit of change with Bravo, Athanase, and Sunil Ambris coming into the top 5. First, let's talk on Bravo. We should never judge West Indian fans based on what you see on social media. So I know that I shouldn't go in on this topic based on stuff that I read in forums and on Twitter and so on and so forth. I mean, that doesn't mean it doesn't represent the fans, because ultimately people's opinions are people's opinions. But I was shocked. No, in fact, you know what? I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised to see lots of people after seeing Bravo ton up in both innings. So for those who don't know, Bravo scored 100 in the first innings against Leeward Islands, then scored 100 not out in the second innings. There were some people who wanted to say that those runs don't matter and that it doesn't matter how many runs Bravo scores, he can't touch the West Indies team. I'm just here to say to people now, that is utter and complete nonsense and foolishness. Utter nonsense and foolishness. Since when do the West Indies have a deep enough talent pool that you can ignore Darren Bravo? Second point, we're not talking about ODI cricket. So when people have been messaging me saying stuff like Bravo's already been given a run, he got dropped, he shouldn't get a call back again, go back and look at your stats and your facts. Because what you're basing your assessment on is the fact that Bravo, yes, got an extended run in the ODI side. We're not talking about ODI cricket. These 261 runs, which have made him the top run scorer thus far in the West Indies Domestic Championship, is red ball runs. Bravo hasn't played for the West Indies in red ball cricket since the New Zealand tour in 2020. We're now in 2023. So don't talk to me about Bravo got a run. No, he didn't. It's 3 years since he last played Test cricket for the West Indies. In the time, man, you're not going to get me started. If you ever wanted to sum up where Bravo's quality and talent is versus the rest of the region, check this. When Bravo sabotaged his career with the Big Egypt tweet that he sent out against Dave Cameron, and Dave Cameron blacklisted him and so on and so forth. So we're talking circa 2017, 2018, right? Since 2017, 2018, so Bravo left West Indies duty in essence with eight Test match centuries to his name. Since that time, no one has been able to even get close to that stat. The only player in the West Indies team that has more centuries than that is Craig Brathwaite. Bravo sabotaged his career in 2017, 2018, and in that time, not one player has come close to even matching his stats. That, for me, is enough. I don't want to hear nothing else from anyone about Bravo this, Bravo that. If you have a batter in the region who has 8 Test match centuries to his name, with the large majority of them away from home, and I'm talking difficult runs, I'm talking big runs, right? 17 Test match 50s. If you have a batter with that level of experience and then they bully the domestic scene after he had been told, when he got dropped from the Test side after New Zealand, they told him, you've got to now go and make runs in domestic cricket. So if the man goes and makes runs in domestic cricket, don't you call the man back when he's got that level of Test experience? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Why am I even having to point this out? If Darren Bravo continues to make runs when the domestic championship returns for round 3, 4, and 5, he gets back into the West Indies Test match squad. I don't know if that means he gets into the team, but he easily gets back into the West Indies Test match squad. And when I say that, I mean for India. For all I know, they could call him up for South Africa. I doubt it very much, but he walks back into the Test match squad for India if any of the existing batters currently in the West Indies squad do not perform versus Zimbabwe or South Africa. Bravo walks in and replaces them. Simple. I'm happy to hear in the comments below about why you wouldn't do that, because some people have been like, oh, but Bravo's 34. So? What's that got to do with anything? Usman Khawaja's 36. Australia called him back into the side at what, 34? I think they called him back into the side. Last year, man was batter of the year. Come on, man. Don't talk to me about what his age is. West Indies are in no position to turn down Bravo and his runs. So if Bravo continues to make runs, Bravo gets back into the West Indies setup. Simple. I'm not talking about ODI cricket, I'm talking about red ball cricket. Player number 2, Alec Athenaeus, big 144 runs in the first innings of the Women's Islands match. To me, I mean, that's to follow up his 40-odd and 50-odd in the first round of the competition, which is why he's in second place. You already know my views on Alec Athenaeus. I'd already been tweeting and saying to people from time ago. I wrote an article for the West Indies website. I did an interview with Alec Athenaeus, which you can find on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast channel. I've been championing this guy for a while now, saying this guy's got to play for the West Indies. I don't know when the selectors will see sense, but I'm saying it again. On the 12th of February 2023, Alec Athenaeus should be called up for the West Indies at some point within the next year and a half to 2 years, at the latest, at the very latest. I done talk. Melius didn't really show up this round. I'm trying to just remember, where did this guy bat this round? So yeah, this round, Melius, two runs from 21 balls, opening alongside Jelani Robinson, and then the second innings, he batted down the order. He batted at number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Somebody told me that Melius had an injury in this round. I need to go find out some information about that because I don't know the full details. But that's why if that's the case, that might explain why he didn't really perform in this round. Nandu, obviously, he added another half century to his century in the first round. I pretty much repeat what I said in the last video after round 1. Good to see. 4th place in the runs chart. Great that it's a young player. Great, and what that says about West Indies young players and their development. But let's not pressurize the guy. We applaud him. We salute the half century. We go again in round 3. We go again in round 4. We go again in round 5. What I'd like to see the Guyanese Cricket Administration and possibly even West Indies Cricket Administration is whatever happens now in the last 3 rounds of the domestic champ, someone should be sitting down with Nandu already and thinking about pathway. This is how you develop players from early. You talk to them from early and talk about pathway and future development. So as I probably said after the video from round 1, Nandu should be in the next cohort of the West Indies Academy. And if he's not, someone's dropped the ball. I don't know if that means Nandu should go on the A-team tour. Possibly, quite possibly he should. I don't know. You lot get in the comments below and let me know if you would take him. I don't know if that's too much too soon, but at the bare minimum, he should go to the West Indies Academy. It's worth noting that Cricket West Indies plan for the West Indies Academy to also go on a tour this year. So I'm just pointing that out as well. And then in 5th place, Sunil Ambris, 183 runs. Sunil Ambris got 2 50s in the first round, and he followed that up with 47 and 26 in this round. Sunil Ambris, I'm going to tell you something because a lot of people don't know this. Sunil Ambris has played 16 ODI matches for the West Indies, and he averages 36. Now, obviously, these are red ball runs, so I'm not. You could say, so what, Mash? I guess the reason I'm pointing that out is Sunil Ambris has international experience, and he's almost a forgotten name of West Indies cricket. My understanding, and if I'm wrong, I'm happy to correct in the next video that I release, saying that actually I had my information wrong. My understanding is that over the last however many years during the pandemic and whatnot, that when Sunil wasn't playing cricket, that was due to certain views he would have had about what you needed to do to be able to play cricket and so on and so forth. That's my understanding. If I've got that wrong, by all means, someone get in touch with me and I will correct it and I will say that I've got wrong information. But the point is, this is why Sunil hasn't been on the scene. Or what feels like he hasn't been on the scene for a long time. But it's worth just pointing out to people, this man actually has runs, you know. Listen to this. So Sunil Ambris averages 36 in ODI cricket for West Indies. He averages 32 in first-class cricket. He averages 40 in List A cricket. There is an argument to say that Sunil Ambris is one of our more accomplished batters in the region, but he's never really someone that people talk about like that. Sunil is still, I think he's 31. No, he's not even 31. He's not even 30 yet. Sunil is 29 years old. Okay. He's played 6 test matches and his average is 15. Highest score of 43 in those 12 innings that he's played. So I'm not trying to pretend that the man excelled and beat ball in international cricket at the test level, but certainly when you look at his white ball stats and his first class red ball stats, he's one of the more accomplished batters in the region. If Sunil continues to put up runs, then yes, he must come into the conversation. Why not? Why not? My only critique of having seen Sunil bat thus far in the competition is he's been aggressive. Is that a bad thing? No, but there's a time and a place to be aggressive, and I'm hoping that it isn't that his sole approach to playing this season is, well, I'm just going to beat balls. Like, so if I talk to in the Windward Islands first innings, the 47 that he made that off 38 balls. If you go back and look at round 1 and you look at the 250s that he made, they were basically made at just under a run a ball. I think one of them was over a run a ball. And I'm just saying that I hear it and I'm here for it, but that's not the only way to play in red ball cricket. So I'd like to I'm yet to see him. I mean, in the second innings, when the Windward Islands only made 168, he stayed at the crease for 54 balls for his 26. So over the next 3 matches, round 3, round 4, round 5, I just want to see him face a situation where he has to grind it out a bit more, just to see if he can show me that versatility in his batting. And then finally, people, let's just look at the bowlers. So the top 5 bowlers in the competition thus far. First place, Akeem Jordan, 12 wickets. Second, vis-a-vis Permol, 11 wickets. Third, Ryan John, 10 wickets. Fourth, Akeem Cornwall, 10 wickets. Fifth, Brian Charles, 10 wickets. The thing that splits the ones with 10 wickets in terms of the bowlers will come down to average that they're taking their wickets at. But obviously, John, Cornwall, and Charles are all at 10 wickets. After round 1, in terms of who's in and who's out, Akeem Cornwall was first last time out. He didn't take any wickets in this round. Ryan John was second. He only picked up 2 this round. Vis-a-vis Permol was third. He picked up 5 this round. Brian Charles was fourth. He picked up 4 this round. And Niall Smith was fifth. Did Niall Smith get any wickets? Niall Smith in this round took one. He took 2 wickets. And he was very expensive. So he's dropped out of the top 5 altogether. Okay. So in terms of the top 5, 4 of the top 5 are still there. They've changed position, but the only newcomer to the top 5 after round 2 is Akeem Jordan, who wasn't even in the top 5. I think he had 5 wickets after round 1. He picked up 7 wickets in the Jamaica game to jump to the top of proceedings. Now, if we talk about Akeem Jordan first, Akeem Jordan bowls medium fast. He's not quick. He's a swing bowler for me. And I think he's a very good exponent of swing. I think if there is any kind of lateral movement, Akeem Jordan will take full advantage of it. Akeem Jordan's been banging on the door for a while, but when I say banging on the door, I don't mean he's made it incontrovertible that he should be picked for the West Indies. I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that his performances with the ball in the last few seasons, I've seen enough to suggest that there should be a conversation about him. His stats thus far, if you just want to know his overall stats, he's played 5 first-class matches, because it's worth pointing out to people that he's only just really broken into the Barbados setup over the last few years. 5 first-class matches, 24 wickets. And he's taken his 24 wickets at 18 apiece. He's played 32 list day matches and he's taken 48 wickets at 24 apiece. Those are some impressive numbers. But how many people listening to this outside of Barbados really know anything about Akeem Jordan? For some of you listening to this right now, you're probably going, who is this guy? Let me go and search him up. I'm going to give you a bit more stats and facts about him. Okay. So this is Akeem Jordan since... Let's go to when CCC won Super 50, okay? When CCC won Super 50, this is every Akeem Jordan season since then. This is going to surprise a lot of people, because by the time I finish giving you lot this stats, in fact, no, not that Super 50. Yeah, when CCC won it in 2018, 2019. I'm going to give you the following stats, people, and you're going to be shocked. Because after I give you these stats, everyone's going to say, so why are we ignoring this guy? Super 50 2018-19, I think that's when CCC won it. Akeem Jordan played 8 matches, took 16 wickets at 15 apiece. The following year, Super 50, 2019-2020, Akeem Jordan played 8 matches, took 16 wickets at 21 apiece. Super 50, 2020-2021, in the pandemic, he played 5 matches, took 7 wickets at 26 apiece. Now, some of you are saying, Mash, why are you bringing up Super 50? This because the man's not played no West Indies Championship games until literally last season, when he finally got called up into the Barbados setup. 3 matches, this is last season, 12 wickets, 19 apiece. This season, 2 matches thus far, 12 wickets, 17 apiece. Are people listening to those stats? Do people know who Akeem Jordan is? I beg you put respect on his name. And what you need to ask yourselves is, how has he gone under the radar like this? I never hear anyone talk about Akeem Jordan. When we talk about who should get a call up and this, that, you never hear Akeem Jordan's name, you know. I know this is about red ball, but I gave you some interesting white ball stats. Aren't West Indies still searching for somebody to bowl alongside Alzari Joseph? I'm just saying. So hail up Akeem Jordan. Big him up. I'm glad he's in the conversation. Well, he's in my conversation. This is me now saying to people who don't know who Akeem Jordan is, why is he not in your conversation? Someone explain to me in the comments below why he is not in the conversation. What do you think stopping Akeem Jordan being in the conversation? And actually, I got some criticism of Barbados here. Why is it taking the Barbados Cricket Association so long to get Akeem Jordan involved? People are going to say to me, because of Kemal Roach, Jason Holder, Chemal Holder, Keon Harding, and the fact that Barbados has so many options. But you have a bowler who has produced season after season after season, no matter the competition. How comes if Akeem Jordan isn't playing West Indies A cricket at the bare minimum by the end of this West Indies Championship, it's just further evidence that our selection policy makes no sense. Position number 2, Vasami Permol, 11 wickets. I don't want to say too much on Vasami. I already said what I needed to say last week. And in fact, what I said last week becomes even more relevant this week. Gudakesh Motie has just taken the second best, wickets for a spinner, is it? Is that what I think I heard today? Or is it the third best? I think it's either the second best or the third best spin performance by a West Indies spinner overseas. 7 wickets for 37 runs. Vasami Permol can't get in ahead of Gudakesh Motie. So I don't know what to say for Vasami Permol. Evidently, he's behind Motie, and rightly so. I've got no issue with that. But evidently, based on the selectors, he's behind Warwican as well. So I don't know what to say for Sammy Permol. Hail up your 11 wickets. Keep doing what you're doing, but I can't help you with how to navigate your path back into the West Indies setup. Ryan John, 8 wickets after round 1, only took 2 wickets this time round. I was a bit critical of Ryan. You see, when Windwards were trying to chase the win against Guyana, they gave Ryan John the new ball. Him and Preston McSween. I think it was in like the last half hour. And I was in the chat thing, or the West Indies chat thing, watching the game. And at one point I put, this bowling is dunce bowling. And they were just spraying it down leg side, not bowling to a clear specific line, not forcing the batters to really have to play at difficult deliveries enough. Not enough channel of uncertainty deliveries. I was disappointed with that. I'm not saying that's reflective of Ryan John's bowling across the whole of round 2, but I'm just saying it's little things like that where I can't call your name if I'm seeing things like that. I need you to work on that level of consistency. Akeem took no wickets in this round. Number 4, Akeem Cornwall, 10 wickets. No wickets this round. I ain't mad at that, because I think that just echoes the same point that I said last week. Akeem Cornwall could end the season taking the most wickets, and it won't make a jot of difference for his West Indies chances. The only thing that forces Akeem Cornwall into the conversation for West Indies is runs. So although he's not in the top 5 for batters, I will tell you that he's 6th on the list with 181 runs. It's runs that will matter for Akeem this year, not wickets. So if anybody wants to send this to Akeem, just send him that little subsection. It's runs that matter for you this year, Akeem, not wickets. You're going to be taking wickets because that's your bread and butter. It's runs. And then finally, Brian Charles, 5th place, 10 wickets. He took 4. He took 4 in this match for Trinidad. Where is it? What was his figures again? Was it 4 for 84? Yeah, 29 overs, 4 for 84. And again, not too much to say that I didn't say last week, so I'll just reiterate the point. The West Indies selectors took Roston Chase to Australia because, according to my my sources, Rakeem Cornell was in the squad. Rakeem Cornell was withdrawn from that squad at the last minute. With their desire to take another off-spinner, they turned to Roston Chase. I think that was the biggest disrespect to Brian Charles, simply because at that point, Brian Charles was the incumbent A-team off-spinner. Roston had done nothing to warrant being recalled back into the West Indies test side. I think it was a disrespect to not turn to Brian Charles, irrespective of Brian Charles's lack of experience at the international stage. If your rationale, and I can only go by what Desmond Haynes said in the press conference, if your rationale for Roston Chase's pick was we needed an off-spinner, and then your decision was we're going to turn to Roston Chase, who takes his wickets at 42, 44 in Test cricket, that makes 0 sense. What were you saying to Brian Charles? You must be saying to Brian Charles, you know what, your off-spin don't count for nothing. Anyways, Brian Charles is in 5th place with 10 wickets. Let's see how he continues to develop. Last time out, he was in 4th place with 6 wickets. So he's added another 4 in round 2. Let's continue to see how he develops across the remainder of the tournament. People, that's my summary of round 2 of the West Indies Domestic Championship. I hope you've enjoyed that. Like I say, there's no one else. You ain't going to find this anywhere else. And even if you've got people talking about it anywhere else, they will never go into it in the level of detail and analysis that we do on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, because that's what we pride ourselves on with everything that we do on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. As ever, thank you for listening. Like this, share this with people who you think would want to listen to this, and most importantly of all, subscribe to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. That's been another episode. Rally around the West Indies, 8 o'clock UK time tomorrow, day 2 of the test match, West Indies versus Zimbabwe versus West Indies. And remember, on the 15th as well, West Indies women versus India as we try to bounce back in the T20 World Cup. Rally, people. Later.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.